Keçen kabar çey poison shere Keçen kabar çey siyacha कह गई साहिबो चाहने वेरे कह गई जेरे एकी गुमराह कह गई साहिबो चाहने वेरे के गई जेरे एकी गुमराह. Welcome to DSEJ Home Classes. The one who does good deeds in the world will be rewarded in the life after, and the one who does not do good deeds in this world will not be rewarded, will be punished. Yes, this was what was meant by the Kashmiri verse which I just recited to you. I sung to you. You might be very surprised to listen to it, that I'm teaching English to you and reciting a Kashmiri verse to you, or you can say Kashmiri shuks to you. And it is actually these were the shuks or verses by Shaikh-ul-Alam, Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali rahmatullah alayh, very famous saint, very famous poet of Kashmiri, and in fact he was the first Kashmiri Nadgu, or he was the first Kashmiri poet who wrote a Naat in Kashmiri language. It is said so. Today we are going to study about it. It is one of the chapters in class 9 and from prose section, and it is written by Professor by G.R. Malik. The most important work of his, G.R. Malik's, they are Iqbal and the English Romantics. I told you earlier that as well. He was born in 1945. So we are today going to study about Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali. It is written by G.R. Malik. And in this very prose, in this very piece of work, we will try to learn. We will try to understand Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali, his personality, Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali as a saint, Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali as a preacher. This is what is said in this chapter. His vision, his he as a missionary. How did he deal with the people? What did he do in his life to get the real meaning of the world, and to get the God himself? And let us find out from here. Actually, Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali is famous for his preachings. He's famous for, as I told you, he was the first the writer of Naats in Kashmiri language. He was a Kashmiri poet also. He was contemporary of Lal Ded, another famous and very popular poetess from Kashmir. Lal Ded, they were contemporary, but he was Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali was younger to Lal Ded, usse chota tha, and it is also said that एक बार Lal Ded ने उसे दूध भी पिलाया था रास्ते में, and he has written some verses about Lal Ded as well, and it was this. actually. He was. I must tell you one thing about. He was famous for his. There are certain quotes of his which are very popular, which are very famous, and you must be very surprised to know that George W. Bush, American president, once when he came to know about Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali, one of his quotes in Kashmiri, when he said, "Unposh til yelvan posh." He was, he preached to the people to save forests, to save trees, and to plant trees as many as they can. It was what his preaching was about these trees, and he was, because he knew it, that if there are more trees, if there is forest, dense forest, the world would be pollution free. When George W. Bush, when he came to know about this particular quote, "Unposh till one posh," he was surprised. He said that pollution is a new concept. How did it happen that he also knew it at that time, almost 650 years ago? He lived in 13th century and 14th century. He was born in Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali was born in 1377 and died in 1438. It was during his time that it was said. It was said by him, and George Bush was very surprised over this. And I must say that one of the kings, Jahangir, the king of his times, he once said that agar firdos baruye zami ast, hami asto, hami asto, hami ast. This is what he said about Kashmir, for its beautiful scenery, for the beautiful spectacle you see there. But beside it, Kashmir is also known for famous poets, famous writers, its tradition, and this is what we are going to study about one of the great personalities of the history of Kashmir, and it is Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali. Now today I would like to tell you about one more thing about him, that once you might have heard an English quote, it is "As you sow, so shall you reap." Okay, "Jaisa boge vaisa kaatoge." This was actually said by Noor-ud-Din Wali himself, also in Kashmiri language, like "Yuskar gongul suikar krao." Okay, which means "as you sow, so shall you reap." It was said by the English people very late, but you can see the vision of Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali. He was not just a man who was sitting, who sat there inside the cave and spent 12 years there, but he was a man of vision. Okay, let us study a bit about it. It is actually in the very beginning of this chapter, J.R. Malik writes that Kashmir, has been known for centuries. It has been known for centuries as Reshwar, like written here, Reshwar, which means the valley of rishis. So Kashmir had been the valley of rishis. All over the valley there were rishis. Everywhere were rishis, and and they were found in all the parts of Kashmir, who lived very, they lived very simple life. It is said that they lived very simple life. They lived like hermits, all alone, bilkul akele rehte the, and they were mostly vegetarians. And for them, it was a great sin to kill any living beings. They did not kill the animals, and that's why they were vegetarians. Those rishis, they were vegetarians. They considered it a sin to kill an animal. So it was the valley of rishis. That's why Kashmir was for centuries known as Reshwar, and it is it continued to be. This Reshwar, or the valley of rishis, but it was you can say it was that was that tradition continued, but it was given a Muslim color and it was given a Muslim character. Okay. Those rishis actually, they served common people. This is how they lived. They served common people in several ways. Like they used to plant trees wherever they used to go. जहाँ कहीं भी वो जाते थे, वो trees वगैरह लगाते थे, plants लगाते थे, shady trees लगाते थे, ताकि चलने वालों के लिए थोड़ी सी शेड, थोड़ा सा साया उन्हें मैसर हो, तो उस धूप से थोड़ा बहुत वो बच सकें. So this was, such was their feeling and such was their vision. So pure were they at their hearts. And then we see that Islam entered in Valley, in Kashmir, in Valley, and it entered in 13th century. And when Islam entered in Kashmir, in Valley, in 30th century, that Rishi tradition, even after entering Islam here, that tradition continued even then, but it was given Muslim color and character. Then it was given Muslim color and character, and then Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali, he played main role, एक important role वो play करते हैं इस चीज में. And Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali, as I said, he was called by different names. Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali, he was called Shaikh Noor-ud-Din. He was also called Nund Ryosh, and he was also called Shaikh-ul-Alam, which means he was popularly known as Shaikh-ul-Alam, which means the spiritual guide of the world, or the saint of world stature. एक बहुत बड़ा saint आप जिसको कह सकते हैं. And then he was born in J.R. Malik also speaks of his life a bit. He was born in 1377 in Kulgam, and his father was actually Salar Sons, and the Salar Sons was actually he belonged to a Rajput family in Kishtwar. And due to some family feud, due to some problems, he was actually the son of Rajput family, very important person of Rajput family in Kishtwar. But due to some feud, due to some problems, he had to leave Kishtwar, and he went to Kashmir, and there he accepted Islam, and he was then called his name was kept Salaruddin. He wasn't called Salaruddin. He was known by the name Salaruddin, and he was father of Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali, and he was Shaikh Noor-ud-Din has ascetic tendency from the very childhood. He used to be a very alone. He was not so much sociable. He was not used to play with his friends, with boys, with children. No, he used to keep himself very separate from all these things. And then when he marries, he got himself married, and the name of his wife was Zaidat, and they begot a daughter. उनकी एक लड़की पैदा होती है जिसका नाम Zundet था, and then they had also a son, namely Haider Baba. Haider Baba was Sheikh's son, and then it is said that he spent 12 years in cave doing penance. Sheikh, when he decided to live inside the cave, when he went there against the will of his parents, his mother told him that there are insects, there are scorpions, there are snakes, they will bite you, they will harm you. But to this, Shaikh Noor-ud-Din Wali replied that they are not going to harm me, rather I would play with them. Okay. And this is how he lived. He spent 12 years of his life in cave doing penance, doing hardship there, so that to find God, so that to find the meaning of this world. That was actually, it is said that was a spiritual training for him. Now this was in accordance with Buddhism. This was this is not the preaching of Islam that you could spend so many years in a cave living isolated from the world. That is not the teaching of Islam. That was the the influence of Buddhism there, and that's why he spent 12 years of his life in cave. But when he realized that he realized that what is the meaning of this world, he found his God, he found himself. He said that the real saint is one who does not who does not escape from life, who does not escape from the world, who does not renounce the world, but who does his duties to the world, who has a sense of responsibility of serving the world among the people themselves, going with the people, serving them, spending time with them. This was what he came to know after that. When he came out of the cave after 12 years, after leaving cave, he became a missionary, a dedicated missionary. He became a dedicated missionary, and I would like to read a paragraph from the text so that we could know what did he do. When he finally left the cave, he had turned into a dedicated missionary. He moved from place to place in Kashmir, preaching his simple gospel of the fear of God and accountability before him after death, commitment to the principles of truth, justice and love, and service of mankind. By his saintly life, he set an example of simplicity, truthfulness, and devoted service of people. As a missionary, he taught us that a true saint is not one who escapes from life, but one who does the duties of life with honesty and humility. In one of his verses, he tells us that the chosen servants of God are those who worship him sincerely and fulfill their duties in life regularly. The Shaikh attracted disciples everywhere. All of them were noble souls and lived lives of piety and in the service of their fellow beings. Okay, in this paragraph we studied that after leaving the cave he became a missionary, a dedicated missionary. Now what did he preach? He preached simple gospel of fear of God, accountability before God, the principles of truth, justice and love. This was his gospel. He preached all these things, that there should be truthfulness, there should be justice in the world, there should be love in the world. Without it we can't survive. And he also said that the true saint, who is true saint, he defines, it is not one who escapes life, but he does duties of life, whatever duties he is assigned in this world. And then he dies in 1438 in Ropwan, Charar Sharif. He was laid to rest at Charar Sharif, a very popular and famous place in Kashmir. You might have visited that, and if not, do visit it. And then he was the person who became very popular and very famous during his lifetime, and even after his death, his name became the household name in Kashmir. Many mothers used to keep the names of their children on the name of this Shaikh-ul-Alam. And then we see that the numerous trusts and educational institutions exist in his name. So many trusts and educational institutions were opened in J&K. One of them is a Shaikh-ul-Alam chair at the University of Kashmir and Shaikh-ul-Alam museum at the University of Jammu. This is his legacy. So this is how this chapter ends. And I hope that you'll be able to answer any question asked about this chapter. And you must go through this lesson or read it yourself. So that you could understand it better. And I would like to explain now certain words to you so that it could help you. These are some words. The first one is hermit. Hermit means who chooses to live alone. Like we studied about those rishis, they lived the life of hermits. They chose to live all alone, like Shaikh-ul-Alam also did for 12 years. Then monastic. Monastic means escapist. Like Shaikh-ul-Alam became monastic when he decided to be there in the cave. Or those rishis, they used to be very monastic. And then saint, a child or descendant of a family. like we studied about Salar's sons. He was a sign of Rajput family in Kishtwar, but he left them and went to Kashmir. So he was the sign of that Rajput family. I hope you understood it. And lastly, please stay home, stay safe. Thank you very much.